Our world consists of cycles. Let's start with the big ones. You've got an annual cycle whereby the world rotates around the sun, and during that period a lot of physical changes occur on Earth. Winter, spring, summer, autumn, for example, the tilt of the axis of the Earth, and this big cycle around the middle of the solar system. Similarly, a lunar cycle. Every month the moon orbits the planet, and again physical changes are incurred here on the Earth. This celestial body known as the moon has the gravitational or magnetic power to shift entire oceans back and forth depending on its position, etc, etc. And a daily cycle, of course, where the rotation of the planet interacting with the light of the sun creates such a great polarized difference between night and day, where the two environments or atmospheres of the planet change enormously with regards to the percentage of light that's around in the environment. However, there are larger ones too, galactic cycles. The ancient Vedic scriptures talk of the Yugas, the 4 different seasons of the galactic cycle. So if you think of our galaxy, which is a spiral, and you put it flat on its horizontal plane, the solar system, according to astronomers, not just the Vedic ancients, takes a cycle of 24,000 years plus, whereby it passes through the galactic plane twice, once every 12,500 years, more or less. And the difference between time in the galactic plane as opposed to time in the peripheries, out into the darkness of space, if you like, has again its great polar differences with regards to environments and the atmospheres here. And according to the Vedic scriptures, and also the ancient Mexicans, the Mayans, with their long count calendar, 2012 signaled the end of one of these Yuga periods, end of the Kali Yuga. And if you think about it back to the local level of night and day, dawn is breaking. We're coming out of the darkest time, the darkest hour before dawn, and we're arriving at the what astronomers call in scientific terms the photon belt. We're coming in line with the galactic plane. The spiral is flat, and we're coming in line with the galactic plane once every 12,500 years. So it begs the question, what does that mean? What physical changes, what atmospheric and environmental changes can we expect on account of the arrival of the solar system, all the planets in the solar system and the sun, in line with the photon belt at the center of the galactic plane? Well, again, it's quite interesting to look back into ancient cultures and see what their take on it was. And it's often referred to as a golden time. And so physics-wise, scientifically, what is actually going on there? What does that mean? And it begs the question about harmonics and frequencies. Out in space we have the 4th element, solids, liquids, gas and plasma, and out in space there's frequencies, waveforms, electromagnetic harmonics. I don't know if any of you remember so far back as the days of the earliest home computers, where audio tapes were used with which to transmit data to load software programs, games, for example, when I was a teenager, into the computer. So for example, if you wanted to play Attic Attack or Manic Miner, Jet Set Willy, these kind of games, you had to load in audio harmonics data via frequencies into the computer via a cassette tape. And this translates to a much wider perspective with regards to data transfers in space, whereby Birkeland currents are almost like motorways of data, of electromagnetism that span galaxies, between galaxies on vast, vast differences. And similarly, you have harmonics, audio, in the same electromagnetic spectrum. You have light and the spectrum breakdown of our colors. But this photon belt, the galactic plane that we're arriving in now, intensifies those frequencies, those waveforms, those harmonics on a grand scale. And so how that will come down and affect the physics of life here on planet Earth is open to speculation and scientific research. And it's a fascinating topic, because as the difference between night and day, we can expect that great changes to the laws of physics will occur. If you were a species that only lived for a few seconds, and for generation after generation you lived during the night time, and somebody said, hey, at some point, in the very distant future, there's going to be dawn and everything is going to change completely, you might question the validity of such a claim. But when you dig into ancient scriptures and you look at the correspondence and correlation with current astronomy and astrology, there's a lot to suggest that there's validation with such a claim, that great physical changes to the laws of physics are on the cards. And so that intensity of immaterial, non-physical waveforms that is arriving from the galactic center without us being out in the middle of deep space at the apex of our nodal orbit from the solar system perspective, creates this purity of signal, of data, of harmonic reception. And then you can look at cymatics, whereby experiments put grains of sand or salt onto a tray and then feed a harmonic signal into the tray, and the changing of the tone, so from a musical perspective, from the note A to the note F or whatever, will change the geometric shape of the position of the grain. It's a fascinating thing, proving that harmonic signals and frequencies, cymatics, can alter the structure of the physical world. Everybody's seen on a destructive scale what sound waves can do to glass, i.e. shatter it. Well, conversely, on a constructive perspective, we are generating cells on a regular basis. I think our gut cells regenerate or respawn, reproduce every 2 or 3 days, whereas in the brain or in the bone structure, it's a much longer regeneration, respawning of cells. But we are consistently and persistently and constantly regenerating our physical form. If you think about a whirlpool or a tornado, there's an energy force happening that manipulates and maneuvers the physical particles, molecules around it to create what we can see with regards to the whirlpool. But you take away the physics and the material and there's nothing to be seen. Similarly, as living species, we are pulling, in inverted commas, towards us material from the world, usually with food, and we are creating, through this energetic process, our physical structure. But there are other other non-physical structures, our emotional body, our mental body, our light body, our astral body, etc., that are also to be taken into consideration. When we look at the biofield, what the ancients would have called the aura, we can see that these electromagnetic harmonic frequencies have great impact and harmonics, and we're a very rhythmical life form. And so the quality of the regeneration of our cells is based on the structure, which is often looked at in terms of geometric shapes. You heard of sacred geometry. Well, this is where science and spirituality combines, and we look at the interface between the non-physical and the physical, and the template with which we have to respawn and regenerate and reproduce our physical self. Well, with a pure and very clear and crisp input of data via harmonics and light, then the quality of that template's reproduction, Rupert Sheldrake's morphogenetic fields, the morphic resonance, is the interface between the metaphysics and the physics. So we get to places like stem cells where the quality of cell is produced. And you look at areas of disease, such as a cancer, for example. Well, they've done studies of the mummified remains of Egyptians, saying that there were no tumours and cancers in those times. Well, perhaps what's happening is that the toxicity of the environment with which we live in is creating these problems, but that's about to, or gradually becoming defunct and changing through the quality of the harmonics that the photon belt is going to provide for us. So we live in very exciting times, and in theory, the lifespan of a human, with the regeneration and the respawning of the cells from a factory settings template, can improve and increase vastly, even to the extent that, in theory, immortality, depending on the quality of our template's regeneration, is not out the question.